Great. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight to share some comments as we go towards the public hearing on a piece of legislation that we've been working on together to address significant issues and work towards a goal of improving confidence and trust and support in police work and ensuring that our police department is always held in a manner that is consistent with the values of the community, and the community has a way to articulate that. And I'm really pleased to be joined by my council member colleagues as well as a number of organizations, the NAACP, CASA de Maryland, the ACLU, Jews United for Justice, Identity, and we have Marcus Jones, the acting chief of the police department, as well as other officials from the police department. Captain Sonia Pruitt is here, and Commander Dave Anderson. I wanted to just start by noting a bit of the context that we're here tonight. We learned today that the state's attorney is recommending charges, filing charges in a very problematic incident that we learned about over social media in the last few days. This is an incident that unfortunately we have seen in a consistent manner, very unfortunate video captures of interactions that are not interactions that are consistent with what our department believes, what we believe as elected officials, and we're all here because we know we're accountable for that, and we want to do something about it. I also really want to note that another important fact is that police recruiting is really down, and the police department in this county and in all counties are having a challenge to attract people into the profession. I think these two problems are related, and I think that we need to strive for solutions because the very mission of police work and of public safety is at stake, and we need to reinvent policing in this new world that we're in, this world where problems that maybe in the past didn't come to light are coming to light, where communities that have had challenges for years in their interactions with the departments are now having a voice. And we need to figure out how police work is going to succeed in the world that we live in, and ensure that it represents the interests of all communities. So what the legislation that we will be having a public hearing for tonight would do is create an advisory board. And the advisory board would have 15 members. 9 of them appointed by the council, 4 by the county executive, and then 2 that are ex officio or non-voting, 1 representing the department and 1 the police union. The legislation seeks to create a place for the department and the community really to partner on policy issues. And this is a different approach. This is not a body that is going to be investigating, as our state's attorney is already doing, allegations of a specific incident. This is a body that's going to be talking about policy issues broadly. What is our disciplinary process? How does it work? What are its limitations? What changes might be needed in our disciplinary process? What guidance and training do officers receive about interacting with people who have mental health challenges? How can that be improved? What is our approach to community policing? How can we better implement police practices that bring the community closer and the police department closer to the community? Really, it's to focus on best practices. It's to do research, to have access to data, and to constantly have a learning organization that ensures that the community standards are what are the standards of the county government and of the department, and that it's based on evidence and best practices from around the country. I think that as such, it's an opportunity really to build a new model, to build a collaborative approach between community leaders and the department to give the community a voice in formulating policy. Now, it is an advisory board to the council. Now, this is created under the aegis of the council. This is not an adjunct of the department. It is not controlled by the department. I know that we at times hear concerns about that. Montgomery County Council is the policy-making body, the highest policy-making body of the Montgomery County government. And so we would charter this commission under our aegis, because recommendations would come from the commission to the council. In an ideal world, a report would generate 20 recommendations, and the department is at the table providing comments and feedback and implementing recommendations as they go. If there are particular issues that there isn't an agreement, then it would be escalated to the county executive, to the county council. At the end of the day, it is the elected officials of the county that must set the policy for all aspects of living in this county and of the county government, including the police department. So that is what this strives towards, is ensuring that it is the elected officials that are setting the policy framework for police work in the county. I really want to thank the NAACP, especially for their collaboration, Identity, CASA, Jews United for Justice, the ACLU, but I've been in dialogue with the NAACP for about a year now, working on this initiative, working on this policy proposal. And I am just really appreciative of their constructive guidance and their leadership.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Riemer. Really want to thank the leadership of Councilmember Riemer and Councilmember Joando, this particular proposal. I also want to thank all of the community members who are here representing organizations who've been real advocates and really willing to collaborate constructively with our county council. Of course, Councilmember Glass, who is here, who's also been very involved in these issues. But in reality, it's the entire council. And I think that, there is nothing more important to us than making sure that public safety is number one. And in a county that has grown exponentially and in a county that prides itself with its diversity, it's really, really important that this issue of public safety and the trust between our police department and our community is paramount. And I want to emphasize that, we have an amazing police department. We have a police department under the leadership at this moment of Chief Jones, and a police department that I know strives to make sure that they're out there in the community. And so the idea with this particular proposal is not to in any way, cast judgment on the quality of those fine young men and women who every day go out there and put their lives at risk to provide security and to provide safety for us. It is really to be proactive in how we promote and how we amplify this issue of community policing and community engagement. It is so important because we cannot run away from the fact that a county as diverse as ours requires some structures that allow for this kind of outcome. And in a year where we're very busy working on racial equity and social justice, I think that these particular proposals just help us really boost this amazing goal forward. So I really do want to thank everybody, and I particularly want to make sure that everybody feels that they are heard, and we're going to have this public hearing. We still have other opportunities for you to be heard. I will say, I've had meetings, as most of us have, with the Fraternal Order of Police, and they have particular amendments that they would like to see. I think one issue that I've been struck with is this term community policing. It seems like everybody has a different definition. And so I have vowed, I have committed to working with the Fraternal Order of Police and other community members to see if we can come up with definitions of what we would like to see be part of this community policing framework for Montgomery County, so everybody can be on the same page and make sure that that also helps us achieve the outcomes that we would like to see. So again, really, really appreciate your participation, and we will get to work on this very important bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Riemer, and for your friendship and your leadership on this bill. It's been great to work with you on it. I want to thank the chief for being here as well. And in support, I think it sends the right signal. And we couldn't have planned this, but on the same day that we're here, where an officer was charged very expeditiously. I want to credit the state's attorney and the police chief for investigating and getting to this point. It's nothing that we would like to see happen, but if you're going to build that trust and have that relationship with community that's necessary for police to be safe doing their job and for the community to be safe doing in that with police, you need to move quickly, you need to have transparency, and I credit them for doing that today. And in this board is a really good step forward. Councilmember Riemer didn't mention, but he kind of alluded to it. This has been done in other places. In Sacramento, which is a model that we looked at, the board got together with the police and the community, and they came out with a set of recommendations, many of which were agreed upon between both entities and are in the process of being implemented. And I think that's what we would hope to see here. We would have meaningful community interaction and input with the ability to look into data that is disparate. I've talked about it many times. If you look at our police data for last year, for example, and you look at nearly half of the arrests were of black people, and we represent 19% of the population here in the county. You need to know why that's happening. You need to look at the stops, and we need to look at those arrests, and we're going to be digging into that. We need to dig into how we are doing community policing, and are there ways that can be improved? And in order to do that, you need meaningful community input at every stage of that process. And this will be a vehicle that will help that happen. And the goal at the end of the day is that we're working with our police department, our men and women who put their lives on the line every day to protect us, with our community, so that all people in our community feel that they are being treated equally. One thing that was very clear when we hosted a forum a couple of weeks ago, county executive and I, is that depending on who you are and what you look like in this county, you experience policing in a very different way. And that's not acceptable, and that's not good for community members, and it's not good for officers who are policing in those communities. And so that's what we're really trying to do, is bring both of those entities together so that we can come up with meaningful solutions. I want to thank my colleagues. I know this is not an easy conversation to have, but the ones that need to happen are not easy. And I want to thank Council President for her courage and leadership on the racial equity agenda. I see this as front and center. People need to be able to walk out their door and feel that they are going to be protected and served in the same way, no matter where you are in the county, no matter what you look like, no matter where you live. And in order to do that, we have to have continual dialogue, and this board will, I think, help that. I was proud that we passed the Law Enforcement Trust and Transparency Act a few last month or so. It was the first step in this process. This is another step. So I thank you all for coming and look forward to taking your questions.
I want to thank the sponsors, Councilmember Riemer, Councilmember Joando, and of course, Council President Navarro for your leadership during these last 7 months in this council. The news that came out today can't be timed any more appropriately to the conversation that we're having tonight and having right now, because quite frankly, watching the video of Arnaldo Paseo made me sick to my stomach to see what one of our own law enforcement officers did to one of our residents. And we only know about that because it was captured on video. And we don't know what else happened, but we have all been in the community and we've heard of incidents where our residents don't feel as safe as they could be. And what this commission and board will be designed to do is have a place where we can have those honest conversations with each other and with members of our law enforcement community, so that every single resident of Montgomery County feels served and protected by our law enforcement agencies. And here in Montgomery County, we have more than 80 different boards and commissions that serve this similar function, whether it is working on issues related to Veterans Affairs or child development. Here, we're expanding our boards and community activism to law enforcement as well. So there is strong precedent for engaging all of our residents in the policy making and deliberating that takes place here in Montgomery County. And I'll just share with you also that over the last 7 months, there have been many members of the community, particularly members of the LGBTQ community, and even within that, many trans women of color who have complained to me about interactions they have had with our law enforcement personnel. And I've had those conversations with them, and I'm hopeful that this legislation passes so that we can continue having those conversations so that every resident of Montgomery County feels safe and secure.
So I would like to thank Councilmember Riemer and his co-sponsors for introducing this bill. The Montgomery County Police Department is by no means a perfect institution. We constantly work to make ourselves better in every way. Every day we strive to provide the best in public safety service within the bounds of existing law. The law guides us in policy creation. We have responsibility as an apolitical institution to create sound policy based upon the law. Understanding that fact, we believe that a police advisory commission will assist both the council and the department. More specifically, the commission will allow our residents to more fully understand how we craft policies and vet potential issues attached to those policies. Issues such as case law, criminal procedure, rules of evidence, collective bargaining, the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, and civil liabilities are just some of the considerations that this commission will be exposed to and have the responsibility to deliver to the council for future discussion. Our department works every day to maintain or improve our relationship with county residents and the council. This legislation provides pathways to advancing that work and creating dialogue in a new forum discussing best practices as well as challenges in policing. We expect the commission will provide an objective analysis and informed opinion on how the department can improve as well as how others can help us in our mission. We all understand that public safety is not accomplished alone or in a vacuum. This commission could potentially allow the council to see the issues that stretch well beyond the reach of policing in the county. With that said, a goal of the department has always been to measure ourselves against other departments across the country. This commission will provide significant work in pursuit of that continuing goal. The commission's focus, research, and feedback not only makes sense, but it makes us better. Second, the commission will serve as a formal connection to our residents. Through our community engagement division and the work of our officers each and every day, we are, of course, in contact with county residents. This commission, however, provides for more regular and substantive dialogue on important issues. It will allow our community to guide us and the council through difficult issues before they occur. Again, with the understanding that we have a duty to be the sentinels of our community while also policing in both a lawful and thoughtful manner. We are pleased to be a part of the discussion on this issue, and we look forward to working with the council and the commission.
Councilmember Riemer said he has been working with the NAACP from over a year, and within that process, he reached out to CASA, Jews United for Justice, Identity, ACLU Maryland, to come and discuss this piece of legislation. And we joined the effort because we feel this is an opportunity for our community to engage the police and address those difficult issues. And as part of that process, what we decided to do was to make sure that our community knew about what was going on in the legislation that was coming. So as an effort, with all these organizations, we collected over 1,000 postcards expressing our support for this piece of legislation. Now, we are very happy to hear that Councilmember Riemer is committed to working on this legislation, working with us, the community, and he's hearing our concerns, and we want to work with him to ensure that we can produce the strongest piece of legislation that we can.